Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about the first Chicago method. What is this first Chicago method? The first Chicago method is a valuation approach that utilizes techniques from both discounted cash flows and relative valuation methods. The first Chicago method is generally used for startup or young companies as well as growth companies. This involves the development of three different scenarios with cash flows and an exit price, this time using a multiple, and thus a hybrid between the DCF techniques and the market multiples of relative valuation. This is to be projected under each scenario. Other inputs in the first Chicago method include the required rate of returns. In this case, the method doesn't trust capital asset pricing model, considering that most founders are not diversified and the reliability of beta in capturing that risk would be questionable, and the probability of each scenario to happen. The expected value approach is used in arriving at the business's value. This video is about a demonstrative problem in order to illustrate how the first Chicago method is applied for startup companies. Case 1. The following projected results pertain to Try Incorporated, a startup tech project under three different scenarios. Firms in the tech industry typically trade at 8 times the EBITDA, and the following scenarios are given for the best case, base case, and the worst case. The cash flows for the next 3 years, at least the projected, are also given, with the final year projected EBITDA. Then also given is the probability of each case to happen. The founders desire a rate of return of 20% annually from this project before disposing it in 3 years' time. The first step is to project the cash flows and exit price under each scenario. In this case, it is already given. Best case scenario, year 1 cash flow, 2 million. Year 2 cash flow, 20 million. Year 3 cash flow, 200 million. Year 3 EBITDA, 300 million. Base case, years 1, 2, and 3, 1 million, 10 million, and 100 million. Year 3 EBITDA is expected to be 200 million. Worst case, years 1, 2, 3, cash flows, 1 million, 0, negative 3 million, and the year 3 EBITDA is projected to be negative 5 million. Since the cash flows are already given, we are now going to apply the multiple in order to arrive at the possible exit price by the end of year 3 under each scenario. The enterprise value is expected to be 8 times the EBITDA. Enterprise value at exit under best case scenario, 8 times 300 million. That's 2.4 billion. Base case, 8 times 200 million. That would be 1.6 billion. Worst case, 8 times the EBITDA is expected to be negative, so we're going to assume it's 0. There will be no exit price under the worst case scenario. Obviously, under the worst case scenario, the company will not prosper, will definitely be liquidated. It is just reasonable to assume that there will be no exit price. Let us now use the discounted cash flow technique in order to arrive at the value of the business under each possible scenario. For the best case scenario, we have year 1, year 2, and year 3 with the following cash flows: 2 million, 20 million, and 200 million, with an exit price of 2.4 billion at the end of year 3. The present value factors for 20% for the next 3 years are 0.8333 for year 1, 0.6944 for year 2, and 0.5787 year 3. The same PV factor for the exit price, 0.5787. To arrive at the present value of each of these cash flows and exit prices, we just have to multiply them by the PV factor. They are 1.67 million, 13.89 million, 115.74 million for the next 3 years cash flows, and the exit price has a present value of 1388.88 million. Under the best case scenario, the enterprise value will be 1,520.18 million. Next, the base case scenario. As for the base case scenario, we have the following cash flows for the next 3 years: 1 million, 10 million, and 100 million. The exit price is around 1.6 billion under this scenario, and just multiply them by the same PV factors. The PV factors for 20% in the next 3 years. We will arrive at the following figures: 0.83 million, 6.94 million, 57.87 million, and for the exit price, 925.92 million. The enterprise value under the base case scenario is 991.56 million. Finally, we're going to do the same under the worst case scenario. Years 1, 2, and 3, the following cash flows are expected: 1 million, 0, and negative 3 million, with no exit price at the end of year 3. Use the same PV factors, the PV factors for 20% for years 1, 2, and 3. We would have the following present values: 0.83 million, 0, negative 1.74 million, and 0 respectively. This would give us an enterprise value of negative 0.91 million under the worst case scenario. Now that we have projected the enterprise values under each scenario, we're going to use the expected value approach in arriving at the enterprise value to be assigned to this business. Under the best case scenario, the enterprise value will be 1,520.18 million. Under the base case scenario, 991.56 million. And under the worst case scenario, it's negative 0.91 million. Multiply them by their corresponding probability of occurrence. Times 0.10 for the best case scenario, times 0.70 for the base case scenario, and times 0.20 for the worst case scenario. We will arrive at an expected enterprise value of 845.93 million pesos. As you would notice, the first Chicago method is a technique that is a hybrid between the discounted cash flow techniques and the relative valuation, which involves multiples. So that will be it for tonight. Thank you for watching. Comment for the future topics that you would like to request. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, and hit the subscribe and notification bell to be updated for future videos.